Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Sunday, 24th of April. I'm in the reading nook and I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And I have a big parcel here. So let's get this one open. And pull out is this. No Security, Horror Scenarios in the Great Depression, written by Caleb Stokes. Caleb Stokes you may recognise as the author of some scenarios for Delta Green, and this has kind of sneaked in under the radar. Not a lot of people necessarily know about it, but it is his collection of scenarios set during the Great Depression, during the desperate decades. And it's not a period which is very well explored by Call of Cthulhu. There's a monograph which is set during the period, and you would think that it would be kind of an interesting setting to place a Call of Cthulhu scenario, primarily because it's set at a point where there's a lot of social upheaval, angst, and existential horror to an extent. It's certainly because of the depression itself, with the economic turndown, and the growing threat of fascism in Europe, which thoroughly disrupted people's lives. And basically that's a period, and to some extent it's kind of touched upon in some of the Pop Cthulhu stuff, but not often in Call of Cthulhu. Anyway, so No Security, Horror Scenarios in the Great Depression. The crops fail, then the banks fall, crushing every honest man on the ledges beneath their rubble. The fertile land turns to dust, the modern marvels into slums. Spirits are the last to go, but in the end they break like everything else. The American dream becomes a memory, hope a curse. Some whisper about revolution, others talk of Armageddon. But for the unluckiest few, they are coming, drawn from other realities to feast off misery. And those poor souls will learn the true meaning of the Great Depression. No Security presents 5 original tales of terror compatible with the multiple pen and paper RPG systems. The various settings within 1930s America, ranging from the ravaged farmlands of rural Georgia to the icy peak of Mount McKinley, put players in desperate situations from the very start. The cast of original Lovecraftian creatures frees experienced gamers from the complacency brought on by years spent memorising the monstrosities of their favourite system. Bring the horror back to gaming and your players to the edge of their seats. The hard times approach. Do you have what it takes to survive? So this was published originally in 2013, and again, not many people realise that it's out there. So I am going to set out to make that a little bit different, change that. Going to, by doing this unboxing and also doing a proper review of the book, which is also, because it's called Cthulhu, it's what it deserves. So we've got inside, and we've got the 5 scenarios listed there. So it's very fairly plain in its layout and style, so it's not particularly engaging, again we have we've got a forward, and then we get an introduction or a systems-less apologia from the author, which says Bron is famous for bluntly stating the following in an essay on the same name system matters. Basically, he says, I agree, and so do many other gamers, but as you book your reading might suggest, I have my reservations. System does matter, but it doesn't matter all that much. Again, I think essentially that this is designed to be kind of systemless as much as it can be. So, first we have is the Wives of March, which is set in the in the sharecropping community on the outskirts of Savannah, Georgia, and when the player characters and investigators are looking into the murder of a Methodist preacher. Got some artwork in there, but the layout itself is serviceable. It's actually better than I expected from this, which I thought, oh god, that doesn't look particularly promising. But I get fairly solid walls of text. I mean, that you're always going to get that with self-published content, because you don't always have the budget for artwork. Here we have essentially gameplay information there, but with basically you've got lists of stats, and sorry, no real list of stats or anything like that in there. So it makes it conversant with others, other systems. So obviously you can run this with Call of Cthulhu, you could run this with Trail of Cthulhu if you wanted to. List of NPCs involved. This is the but it's kind of difficult to tell what's going on. It said that it's fairly dense in terms of its content and layout, and you also have a clue tree at the end there, but as I say, no stats. There's no stats for the role-playing game of your choice. I think that's probably why this hasn't gone anywhere, because it's not for a specific system and people have ignored it consequently. So then we have Bryson Springs, the second scenario. It's a cosmic horror mystery adventure set in the desert wastes of the post-Dust Bowl America. 36 players take on the roles of characters unwittingly confronted with an ancient horror preying on a downtrodden populace. Essentially, the adventure juxtaposes the petty cruelty of mankind with an uncaring, enigmatic terror existing outside human perception. People skill basically the NPC tree there, and a list of NPCs involved. And then we get to the gameplay information. So you've got a list of potential character options there, and again, as a keeper or game master, you would have to go away, help create these characters, provide the stats in all cases. So that's actually quite a short scenario. So we have a look of the first scenario. So I'm just trying to use basically the Wives of March, that long, and then Bryson Springs, just that long, just a few pages. Scenario number 3 is Revelations. It's a apocalyptic horror set in the town of Toil, Illinois during the 30s. The 60-player characters take on the role of the town's police force as they struggle to what appears to be the biblical end of days. Thematically, the scenario highlights the overwhelming hopelessness and despair brought on by the loss of faith. And it's got some nice, quite decent artwork, really, for what it is. It's reasonable enough. This adventure is heavily inspired by biblical horror. And we actually have a proper map there, so that's a nice addition. Say who did what. You say who did the yeah, that's good. That's Stephanie McClay did the cartography. I thought I recognised her style. Again, not a huge amount to look at in the book. It's not eye I wouldn't say it's particularly eye-catching, but the content is cleanly laid out. It's probably easy to read. I'm looking forward to digging into it. And then we have scenario number 4, which you barely see anything about. That's quite dark produced, but there is some horrid creature there in the spotlight. And this is the Red Tower, and this is a complex supernatural mystery set in the Chicago meatpacking district during the tumultuous months after the fall of Al Capone. Basically, the player characters are members of various urban factions that discover a monstrous threat worming its way through the city's heart. And the adventure confronts the characters' prejudice involving politics and class with a terror antithetical to life itself. And then we've got the location and clues flowchart. And then the final without end, that's the last scenario. And this is a cosmic survival horror scenario. Attempt on the north, focus on a summit attempt on the north peak of Mount McKinley. Which basically they spell Mount McKinley, but that's an interesting kind of experience. You're dealing with the cold and the wind and the snow and the ice as the characters attempt to climb the mountain. So you've got quite a technical aspect to that scenario, I would suspect. So yeah, we've got a player handout at the end there. So there's not much in the way of player handouts either in here as well. That's quite change. And then we've got a backer list. I'm presuming this was supported on Kickstarter or something like that. I'll have to go and investigate. And then we have quick note here for Love It in the Ice, a scenario which was written as a reward for the backers of the No Security Quickstarter, which has now been turned into a Delta Green scenario, and it's really quite vile and horrific, which is great, and it's a great scenario because it really does emphasise body horror, and it's for mature players. So that's primarily where people will recognise Caleb Stokes' name from, and we've got various adverts at the back. So this then I think is a little bit of an oddity because it's a systemless scenario, almost no mechanics in here at all. So in that case, easy, not so easy to adapt to the role-playing system of your choice. But it does mean that the keeper will have to supply everything. Anyway, I look forward to actually giving this a proper review, giving it the attention that perhaps it escaped at the time of its publication. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching another unboxing look. If you've enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a parcel and a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. We'll be back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.